Thank you, wonderful people, for joining us for another episode of the Creatives podcast. We are bringing you something a little special today. Before we get into that, as you know, my name is Simone Campbell. I'm one of the co-hosts.
And I am the other co-host, Tevin Brown. As she was saying, it's a little different. I know everyone's probably wondering, where's Studio 519? What's going on? Studio 519 will be right back in the next episode. But today's episode was so special, we had to make accommodations without question because we absolutely are honored by the opportunity to have our next guest. She is an award-winning actress, writer, and director. She also was a former professional ballet dancer. And you will see her in the upcoming season of Dark Winds Season 4. We have CARLY ROLAND. CARLY, thank you so much for being on today with us.
That was such a nice intro. I'm I'm honored. Thank you. It's so exciting to be on the podcast with you guys.
No, thank you. And I guess kind of getting right to it, because I'm sure you have an absolutely busy schedule. I think the easiest question that's always like the nice icebreaker is, how did you get started in film and entertainment?
Yeah, that's a great question. And everyone's path. I love hearing everyone's journey because it's always very different and unique.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was always an actor, like from inception, basically. Like I have memories of being 2 or 3 years old and performing my own scenes, and I've always had a very big imagination. Even as a kid, I wasn't an only child, but I'd spend hours kind of in my own fantasy and head making up scenes and stories. And when you're a kid, you just think, oh, it's what kids do. But I realized that I loved the arts, and I was always very involved in dance, of course, and then community theater. And I'd spend summers away at our community acting theater camp. I was that kid. Um,
Yes.
and yeah, and like, I think growing up, it was just a lot of fun for me, but I was really very, very passionate about ballet and dancing, and that was very much my life. And then when I had to retire because of an injury, I was kind of like, oh my God, like who am I and what am I going to do? Because this thing that was my life kind of left. And I was very much into school, and I thought, I'm going to maybe be an agent. And I did have internships at agencies. I did, kind of explore that path and realized around the time I graduated college, I even thought, too, at one point that I was going to be doing props and set design.
Nice.
Because I was like, well, at least I'm a part of it in some
Yeah.
way. That still to me feels enjoyable. But I think, yeah, when I was graduating college, I think I hit a point where I was like, I'm really just denying myself of what I want to do, which is be a performer, be an actor. And so even though I was quote unquote a little older, I then decided to really walk that path, and I moved to New York and started my professional career in my like mid-20s. So it wasn't always this straight and narrow where I was like, this is all I'm doing. I just knew that I was always an artist, and I was always going to live some sort of life being an artist.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, hi to our friend. This is our
Yeah.
second special guest.
Ernie. This is Ernie, who's definitely he's a camera hog and also a treat hog. So
He's an orange cat. He can't help it.
exactly.
Yeah. So I think something that you said that definitely resonated with me, is once an artist, always an artist. It's not that artistic spark. Once it's fanned, I feel like there's no stopping that wildfire from growing. And I'm curious how, your creative process and your approach to creativity changed transitioning from ballet and
Yeah.
dance into acting and film and things like that, because they're very
Yeah.
different. And ballet is definitely a lot more rigid.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think because luckily I had done theater camp and done theater and knew what acting entailed, I was able to kind of transition rather seamlessly, but I did realize that some of the skill sets of being a dancer, where, like you said, it is very rigid, ballet specifically, it's a very perfectionistic kind of environment. You know, as an actor, that's not going to really help you out in the long run. And it took me a long time to kind of get over that. Like, I have to be perfect. I have to please, I have to, you know, so I had to kind of learn, like I said, over the years, like, oh, that doesn't really serve me. But what does serve me is, you know, acting and being on set is incredibly collaborative. And as a dancer, I was in the corps de ballet. And so I am collaborating with my fellow dancers, which I loved, nothing more. You know, of course, I wanted to be a principal or have solos, but I really enjoyed being in the corps, being a part of that collaborative set. And so that to me was kind of a natural and easy transition of being like, oh, I'm going to set with my other actors. And how am I going to serve that? How am I serving the scene? Where do I fit? How do I serve this story? You know, all that stuff felt very relatable to my time when I was a ballet dancer.
Absolutely. No, that makes sense. Again, I feel like across the different artistic platforms, it translates better than people might expect.
I completely agree with you. Completely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think something that really stuck with me that you said was kind of in the piece, similar with like once an artist, always an artist, was also how you kind of traversed your path, and how I feel like a lot of people kind of like when they find their passion, they're so one set minded of like, this is what I'm going to do. But you found so many different avenues to make it work until it all became this huge success that you now have. And so I guess my question to that is, how how did you manage kind of keeping keeping the confidence with it to keep going through like the hard moments?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I have to tell you that kind of taking my creative light and letting it serve and live in different places, you know, again, when I had to give up and leave ballet, I was pretty broken. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty lost. Thank God again, I was still in school. So I loved school, so I could at least concentrate on that. Like, I'm a huge dork. So I was like, well, at least I can go back to my studies and I have this, because some ballet dancers, you know, they go to SAB or they go to a filter program into a ballet company. And so dance is really all they have a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents were like, we're not going to let you do that. And I'm thankful for that. But I was lost for a while. And again, I was trying to see, well, I'll be an agent, I'll do this, I'll do that. And once I stopped denying myself of, oh, you know what, I'm going to go down this path. And maybe I'm older now, like I'm starting this path when I'm not a kid professionally. I just felt like if I completely cut off my artistic light, I mentally don't know how I would feel living on the planet. You know, for
Yeah.
me, it's like, you know, yeah, I could probably still do this stuff as a hobby. And I definitely consider that. And I think that's amazing. And I would say to anybody who feels like we're all artists, every single human has artistic capability that's given to us by a higher power, if you will. Um, but to deny any part of that completely and not to allow yourself to explore that in whatever capacity feels good, to me, like, what's the point of living? I don't know, you know, that's just kind of how I felt. So, you know, even though there was points where it was hard to transition and I lost my confidence or felt like I had to rebuild, part of my personality that I do attribute to ballet is you're going to fall. You better get your ass back up. Like, I'm a very strong, tenacious person that ballet, it was like, keep going, keep pushing. And so that is a part of my personality, even, and, you know, years, decades later, the inner ballerina is like, you got this, girl, just get your ass back up. Keep, keep
Hmm.
dancing. The tune might change, but you'll get the rhythm at some point, you know?
Mm, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold on to that second.
Yeah, the
I'm
tune's
like,
always changing. The tune
yeah,
is always changing. You will find the rhythm. Maybe not at first, but you will find the rhythm.
I love that. I'm going to be seeking my own inner ballerina now.
Yes, do it. I love it. Absolutely. So,
So good. We all need one. I'm curious, that process of discovery, or I guess rediscovery of yourself and different aspects of yourself, that you maybe hadn't met before, that hadn't had a chance to develop. It sounds a lot like finding a character for a show. So
yeah.
I'm curious how those two processes, as you were kind of transitioning more so into film and also like your identity transitioning along with it, how did those processes kind of parallel and encourage one another?
Ooh, yeah. I love that. I've actually never really thought about that before, but I think I'm personally not afraid of transition in my life. So, I think change is hard for everybody, but for me, it's like I've had to go through a lot of transition and a lot of change. And so, I might have a little resistance at first or be like, I don't understand this. Sometimes when I get even auditions for characters, I'm like, I don't know that I can play this person. Even with my character on Dark Winds, I've never played any type of a scientist or anthropologist or archaeologist. Although again, I'm a dork, and that's like I'm like, yes, this is like,
Really?
please, this is amazing. But sometimes it's hard to really see yourself fit into these places, and it can be a challenge to find yourself in that character. But for me, I approach it with a curiosity and less of a judgment, in a place of like, I can never do this. I don't understand this. More for me, I'm excited by the idea of maybe I don't understand this, but I can find some way in to relate to this person and their story and their character, and plant that seed and see where it takes me. And that's kind of my process. Because yeah, like I said, it could be a challenge sometimes when you have opportunities or you get auditions and you're like, I don't want to do this audition. There's no way I'm going to get this. I don't understand this character at all. Or I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too fat. There's always, we give ourselves a lot of excuses. So I'm like,
Mhm.
all right, ego, zip it.
Mhm.
Just, just do it.
Yeah.
Just play. It's not that serious. Just play and have fun. See what happens.
That's huge. That sense of play, I think a lot of artists kind of, those who feel like they're stuck or kind of burnt out, they've lost that sense of play. And
Yeah.
I heard this quote, that the creative life is a life lived with curiosity every single day. It's not necessarily what you do, it's just having that curiosity lead you. I
I
love it.
love I love that so much, Simone. And it is, I think I am a very I'm kind of I'm like a very old soul, but I'm a very curious young child at the same time, and I make it a part of my practice. I go on walks with my dogs, and this is simple and silly, but I look at the birds and I look at the flowers and the trees, and oh my God, what is that? And look at that. And isn't that amazing? I approach everything with a real curiosity and reverence in my life.
Mhm.
And I hope to do that till the day I die.
Hmm.
Love that.
That's huge.
Yeah, I love that so much, and I love especially kind of your emphasis in like finding just all of the things to enjoy. And so I guess moving it to, because I know we kind of talked about hardships and so many different struggles and things, moving it to the more positive side, um,
Yeah.
what was it like when that moment finally did come and you finally got that first big call that made you feel like I made it? And it was,
You know what? I guess I could go back and look in my career when I was really just starting out, and I'm sure I think probably I know I did have that moment, but in a way, I think it's interesting even now. I'm like, I don't, I still know I'm manifesting that moment for me, like I feel like my career, you look at some people and you think, wow, they just hit it. And most of the time you can dig deeper and realize they've spent decades getting to this road, right? But some
Mhm.
people do just have a lot of luck, and a lot of it is good timing. And for me, I feel like my career has been one step at a time, patience, don't give up, keep going. And that's been hard for me at times, but I definitely feel like A defining moment for me was when I booked my first pilot. Um, you know, I I had at that time always kind of had day player roles or,
Yeah.
roles. I'd come to set for a couple days and I had never booked a pilot. And my journey to booking that pilot was not easy because my agent at the time, I was living in New York, I went in for the audition. I knew the casting director, the casting office, they're incredible and they're champions of mine. And my agent was like, "You're being considered for this role." And I was like, "Really?" Amazing. So then I'm waiting to hear for a couple of days. I'm like, "Oh my God, am I going to get this role?" And it was, I think, between me and one or two other people, but I was told I was the top choice. So I was really excited. And I remember I was at dinner with a girlfriend in Brooklyn and I got a call and my agent said, "I'm so sorry you didn't get the part." And I remember feeling really gutted. And I went to the bathroom and I was really upset. And I put on a brave face and I thought, okay, but for like the next week or two, I was pretty down. And then I got a call from my agent again. I'll never forget. I was at Club Monaco in New York and I was looking for like a sweater and he was like, "I don't know what happened, but you got the role." And they changed their mind.
What?
And I remember I went to set to film the pilot and I had a few lines in the pilot episode.
Mhm.
The showrunner and the director, he came up to me. He said, "I just want you to know that, the network, they really wanted like a name actor, but I fought for you. I knew you were the person for this part." And I'll never forget that because that was the first time like that I felt I made it because somebody fought for me. They went to bat for me. And I had never had that really happen in my career. Um, and I realized I was like, just keep doing what you're doing. People will see you and they will go to bat for you. Um, so that was really an amazing feeling.
Absolutely. That's huge. And I love that your reason for, why when you felt like you made it wasn't necessarily, a show with the world's most notoriety or, even a project that meant something to you personally, but it was when you realized that somebody was in your corner. I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
that's so beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like to me, I've learned being in this industry now for a good amount of time. It's like you need people to be in your corner. You need people who are going to go to bat for you more often than you know. Like a lot of actors, they get jobs because someone did just that. And
Mhm.
I had never felt like that before. I always felt like it was me in a ship rowing solo and like I got to get, and it's like no, do good work, show up, bring positivity to wherever you go, and people are going to go to bat for you. And those are going to be your wins. And they are.
Oh, that's incredible. And I mean, look at where it's taken you today. So I feel like we've kind of gone on this like journey through the timeline. And
Yeah.
let's bring it back to the present. Your Dark Wind season 3. I saw Pulse is coming up as well. So tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now.
Well, those two roles were phenomenal, and I got to spend basically all of my spring in New Mexico last year, which was an honor. I love New Mexico. I was in Santa Fe, I was in Albuquerque. Um, Working on two completely different shows, two completely different characters. And honestly, that was phenomenal, especially after the strikes and kind of on it, not working and feeling a little like, am I going to work again? You kind of go through that narrative in your mind. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, those shows kind of just reinvigorated my creative spirit in a way that I needed so desperately. So yeah, I right now I am waiting for those. Well, Dark Winds is out, but that's kind of what I've been working on in terms of like the most recent projects. And I'm auditioning. I'm back in the saddle. I didn't have a lot of time to audition a ton last year because I was working. So
Mhm.
I'm excited to be back out there. I've been able to audition for some amazing projects and, just I can't wait to be back on set and I can't wait to see what kind of character I play next. I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Are we?
I'm like, where are we going next? I can't wait to find out.
Yeah. No, I love that so much. And I love your story and your journey. And really kind of even looking into, I saw in 2020, Woman in Film had announced you as the next big up and coming actress slash, I believe it was Woman in,
Yeah,
I
women in
forget how they worded it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that was amazing. They have these really incredible mentorship programs. And they have different categories. There's programs for directors, writers. I was accepted into the multi-hyphenate mentorship. So the other women in the program with me, I think there was 7 of us total. We were all actors slash writers and producers. Um, and yeah, it was an honor to be in the program. I was mentored by the head of casting of Disney and then another incredible female executive who was at Media Res at the time. And yeah, it was a pretty incredible experience. And I really love the other women in the program. Some of them now are leads in shows and creating their own content and just a bunch of badasses. So it's pretty amazing.
Oh, I bet. I'm so curious what it was like to be in that energy. And especially this is, thinking just on a human level, there's a lot of competition amongst women and, it can create a really unhealthy environment, but there's nothing more beautiful than feeling in an environment with successful women who are all focused on like lifting each other up as they're also growing. So, what was it like?
Yes. I mean that exactly. Like I love women. I love working with women. I don't have a sister, but some of my friends are like sisters. I think there's space for every single woman to win, however she wants to win. Yes, I understand competition exists, but that doesn't mean that nastiness has to exist. Like
Mm.
to me, if another woman is winning and thriving, like that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. I don't want behind the back, oh, all that cattiness. It's like I've dealt with that enough. I'm sure every woman has a story where another woman's been cutting her down. Um, I'm not that woman. I will never be that woman. And so for me, like it is an honor when I get to work with other women who are directors, writers, actors. Like I love coming to set and working with a female director. It doesn't happen a lot. It did on Pulse. I got to work with an amazing female director. But like I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world. It's what I prefer. I want there to be a set with only women, so being in that program was incredible. I can't recommend whether you're a man, woman, however you identify, finding the places and the programs where you can find mentors and like-minded artists and creatives who are supporting you, who see you, and who want you to thrive. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. More people in your corner.
Yeah,
Of
exactly. Or people who are going to have your back.
Yeah.
course.
Mhm.
Speaking of women directors, turning to some of your own projects,
Yeah.
what is necessarily, would you say you have like a specific style when it comes to your directing process, or kind of like what are the things that you kind of go through?
I pray I have more opportunities and experiences where I get to direct because I haven't done it as much as I want to, and I love it.
Mhm.
I learn a lot by being around other directors and taking with me the things that I think are working and what they're doing that I see is bringing this set together because the set's like a family, right? A director, I was very fortunate to shadow a director on a show I worked on that pilot I booked. And he's wonderful. He has a great career now. And he let me come to set and he said, Carly, directors, we're really just managers. We're just managing a bunch of people. And so I realized, yes, there's that creative element of directing, really understanding characters, really knowing the story, bringing your style to it. But it's also how are you making every single person on this set feel like they can do their job and that they're thriving? Because sets are really stressful. There's never enough
Mhm.
time, there's never enough money, there's always fires being put out. So for me, when I direct, the most important thing, period, above all else, is to come with an intentionality and a calmness to the set.
Yeah.
And to come with solutions.
Mm.
Mm.
Mhm.
So I don't like drama. Think, there's going to be stress, but it's like, does it really have to be that stressful? We're not doing brain surgery. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
and that's really my style is you're going to be on my set, you're going to be seen, you're going to be heard, and you're going to have a great time. And it's going to show in the work.
Mm.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
No, and that's so important. And I like what you said, like it's gonna be okay. You know,
Yeah.
you're running around, but in my experience, the most of the time, across the board, the most stressful times, they always work out because everyone wants to be there and everyone is passionate about what they're doing, and it's probably gonna go in the right direction.
Totally. Like trust your crew, trust what you're doing, trust yourself, and know it's not brain surgery. It's gonna be okay. And making it more stressful and buying into like, oh my God, that doesn't do anything for the project, So for me, it's really just trying to always have a balanced outlook and trusting the people I've hired and that I'm working with.
Mm.
Yep,
Mhm.
100%. So we only have a couple minutes left. This time has flown by.
Oh, so quick.
So I know, right? So, before we close up, with a couple more questions, I'm curious what projects you're working on right now, whether that's directing, producing, writing,
Yeah.
acting, all of the above.
Yes. So I am right now developing a feature film I'm in the very nascent stages of development with two
Mm.
creative partners of mine that I love and respect, and that one of whom I've developed and worked with for years now. And so that's kind of where my energy is outside of auditioning is really, I would love to dive into the feature film world. I feel like I've mainly worked in terms of my own work, short films and docu-series and TV, scripted, unscripted. And now I'm excited to dive into feature films. So that's really what I'm working on. And like I said, hopefully being back on set soon.
Yes.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Fingers
Gotcha.
crossed. Yeah.
Sending good vibes your way.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's so exciting, though.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm so excited and I love development and I love working with other creatives around stories. So it's gonna be a good year. I could feel it.
So I guess kind of rounding it out because we're kind of coming to the end and everything. Is there any tips, whether it's one sentence or bullet points or anything that you have for all of like the young, old, any age artist who's just trying to go out there and pursue their passion?
Absolutely. I am going to put it in bullet points. Otherwise, I will ramble for hours on this. I'll do bullet points because I know we're low on time. Um, Believe in yourself. You believe in your creative spirit. There is no one like you in the world. What you care about, what you love matters. And don't give up.
Mm.
People often just give up very easily. You have to be a tenacious. So this could resonate with you or it cannot, but I would say no matter what your age is, just know that your creativity and your creative spirit matters, that there is nobody on this planet, past, present, or future, that is like you or will ever be just like you. You are uniquely special. So what you care about, what you love matters. And that just tap into your creativity in a way that feels good to you. Again, maybe that is exploring a professional route. Maybe that's having a hobby. Maybe that's putting on a show for your community or painting a mural. It doesn't matter. Like I really don't think it matters. What matters is that you're honoring your creative heart, your creative spirit, that you're letting yourself play and explore, and that you're putting forth your talents to the world because we all need them. The world needs your talents. Even if you're like, I'm not that talented. Well, you gotta start somewhere.
Mhm.
And a lot of
Absolutely.
times people don't want to start that way anywhere because their ego says, I'm not good at this. No one was good at anything before they put time and effort into it. Who cares? You know, I can look back on certain roles and I wasn't that good. Who cares?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I can still look at my work at times, even watching Dark sometimes. I'm like, oh God, who cares? It's just another opportunity to try to get better. It
Yeah.
takes time. It's a never-ending process. So just put yourself out there and have fun.
I love it. I like the little pause. We're all just like taking it in.
I know.
We're like,
Gotta let
yeah.
it resonate.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I was like, oh, that wasn't bad advice, Carly. I'd listen to that. That wasn't too
You're like,
bad.
you're doing great.
I was like, all right, yes.
No, the feeling is absolutely mutual. And Carly, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and chatting with us, telling us more about your own creative journey and inspiring other people along the way.
Thank
Seriously.
you so much. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for these conversations. And, again, I'm so excited for you guys because, starting this podcast journey, again, you're doing it. How amazing, how wonderful. And I'm honored that I got to be a part of it. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime, and you're always welcome back.
Yeah.
Yes,
No,
please.
I would love to come back. Just let me know and I will so be here for part 2.
You got it.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Here to hear, folks.
Yeah. More
Totally.
conversations, but thank you again. This was so much fun.
Yes, of course. And thank you so much to everybody for tuning in today. Thank you so much to the Creative Podcast, for all of the producers for making this possible, for the connection as well to you, Carly. Thank you to all of our wonderful viewers, friends, family, and otherwise. This is why we're doing it.
Yeah.
And always remember on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, and share on any of your social media and with your friends and family as well.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.
Thank you.